let's take a look at our top selections.
Hi everybody, Mike Beer here, taking a look at the feature on the Saturday card down at Gulfstream Park, race number 10. It's the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector for older sprinters. They're going to go 7 furlongs on the main track. Big field of 12 entered. Let's take a look at that field right now. 2 morning line favorites for this race are going to be familiar names. Number 7, Diamond Dupes, 3-1 second choice on the morning line. Number 9, Firenze Fire, your 5-2 morning line favorite. 2 horses who were last seen running pretty well in the Breeders' Cup Sprint back in November at Keeneland. These are 2 horses who have just sort of been, sort of hanging out near the top of this sprint division over the last couple of years, more than held their own versus some very, very good horses. And they do fairly stand out a little bit on form in this race. No surprise to see them as the 2 morning line favorites. They are the 2 horses to beat in here. But again, it's a big field, a lot going on. And they aren't the only horses in here with credentials. Overall, there are 7 graded stakes winners signed on to this race. So it just feels like, in a big field like this, trips could be very important. And we'll see, if maybe Diamond Dupes or Firenze Fire gets compromised by the way that the race is run and opens it up for somebody else. Let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector to see if they think anybody has an advantage here, and they really don't. They don't give an advantage here to either horses that want to be up on the pace or to closers. They expect it to be fairly run. The 2 horses that they have out there on the early lead at the pace call are big prices. The number 3, Wind of Change, the number 11, Zenden. They're both 30-1 on the morning line. I thought it was pretty hard to recommend either one of those 2 horses, even if they do wind up getting clear on this field early. The number 2, Cool Arrow, they have up close to the pace. He's a little bit more of a what you would consider to be a contender in a race like this, if only because his recent form has been very good. This horse was claimed back in February for $62,000 by these connections. They gave him a little bit of a layoff after they took him. And since they brought him back to the races, he's been in very good form. He won 3 races in a row through the summer, 2 of those stakes races, including the Grade 3 Smile Sprint right here over this track. And he has very good tactical speed. He earned a 99 Beyer speed figure when he won that Smile Sprint back in September. So that's a race that's going to put him, close to contention in here if he can repeat it. One of the questions I think for Cool Arrow is, now that some of the better horses are down here for this winter meet at Gulfstream Park, is he going to, be able to continue to match up in these tougher races? I think that's a big question for him. And another question for him could be the distance. I'm not sure 7 furlongs is a great distance for Cool Arrow. He seems like he might be a little bit better going shorter than this. But again, he could get the right trip in this race. He's in very good form, and he's a fair price on the morning line. So I'm not going to argue with anybody who says that they think he has a chance to make an impact in here. The 4, Haikal, is another horse who I feel like has a chance to make some noise in a race like this. A horse who started out his career with a lot of potential for Shadwell Stable. He was trained by Kieran McLaughlin then. But he won the Jimmy Wingfield over this distance early on in his career. He came back and he won the Grade 3 Gotham over a 1-turn mile before he ran 3rd in the Wood Memorial. This horse was pointed towards last year's Kentucky Derby, did not make that race, and in fact missed a ton of time after that and didn't return until earlier this year. But this horse was cut out to be a nice horse early on. He was a closing sprinter early on in his career. And so, we'll see if that's going to continue to be his running style. He could be up against things, especially as he starts to face the better horses again. And I think it's also worth mentioning that his Wingfield and his Gotham, he did have some things go his way in those races. In the Wingfield, that was a day where I felt like the rail was really good at Aqueduct, and he rode the inside the entire way. A good ride by Rajiv Mirage that day. Cut the corner from off the pace, stayed right down on the rail. There wasn't a ton of room down there, but this horse gamely hung in there. And then when he got a little bit more room, just enough to get through late, he shot on through and got up to win it. I thought he ran well that day, even with the track in his favor. And then when he won the Gotham, and he ran down Mind Control that day, an informed Mind Control, by the way. He just had a wicked pace in front of him that day. They were flying up front. He sat it out, and he came with a pretty big finish to close that race down as well. This horse has a big kick in him when the race sets up the right way for him. His 2 races this year, which both came very early in this campaign, he ran fine off the layoff going a mile. He kept closer to the pace that day. It looked like he made a game run at the horse that was on the lead in there, and the eventual winner, Lone Rock, and it looked like he actually got ahead in front of him. just couldn't quite get control, and then he missed a head bob at the end. Overall, a fine place to start for him. He didn't run as well in his second start. They brought him down here for the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Mile. He never really got involved in that race, but he's still a lightly raced horse, still has some upside. Certainly, I think has the potential to go with a field like this when he will make his first start here for trainer Todd Pletcher, and if nothing else, Todd Pletcher is a master off of long layoffs like this. I would expect Haikal to come back and run one of his good races off the bench. Majestic Dunhill's the 5. He's going to be a price in this race. I won't knock him. I'm not a horse. He's not a horse I'm necessarily sold on. I do want to give him a pass for his most recent race in the Fall Highway, where he was just a little bit unprepared for the start. Got away last, never made any kind of run into that race. Overall, it was a disappointing performance, but there could be an excuse for him. He ran better 2 and 3 starts back, 2 of the better speed figures of his career, including a triple-digit buyer when he won the Grade 3 Bold Ruler. Listen, that was a 4-horse field. He kept up close to a very moderate pace that day, and he prevailed at the end over an informed horse and share the ride, but I'm not sure how strong that race was overall. And I'm sure, at this stage of the game, just based on what he's been doing lately, I'm wrong about this, but I still prefer Majestic Dunhill as a turf sprinter. So he's not a horse that I was that interested in this race. We can talk a little bit, I guess, about Mind Control, just because he is a prior multiple Grade 1 winner. His first 2 starts this year as a 4-year-old I thought were really, really good at Aqueduct. Since then, he's come back off of a layoff in June and just has not looked like the same horse. I'm not sure what the problem has been for Mind Control. I'm not sure what's going on with his form. I just don't like his recent races at all, and it makes it tough for me to like him in this race, even though I know that if he finds a way to show up with his best race, this is a field that he can beat, and he will be a fair price in here. So if you have some reason to believe that Mind Control is going to turn it around in here, have at it. He should be a good price in here. I was looking elsewhere for horses to perhaps try to beat the 2 favorites in here. One of them could be Sleepy Eyes Todd. He's another horse I wasn't sold on, but Sleepy Eyes Todd is 7 for 14 in his career. He just tends to show up and run every single time, and he's also very versatile. I like his versatility. He can go long, he can go short. I think his overall record has a lot to do with how well he's been managed. They found really, really good spots for this horse to run in, and I think that has a lot to do with the overall record. But he's just a pretty good horse. He's tactical as far as running style goes, and also as far as distance goes. They cut him back to this 7-furlong distance last time at Keeneland on Breeders' Cup weekend, and he came from out of it to prevail that day. He was a lukewarm favorite in that race. But listen, take out the Awesome again, the Grade 1, where he just was in over his head with Improbable and Maximum Security. His 3 races surrounding that Grade 1 Awesome again, buyers of 99, 102, and 98. Those kinds of races are going to give him a real chance to win this race, to be sure. The morning line favorite is Firenze Fire, number 9. I think he is the horse to beat. He's dropping, again, out of that Breeders' Cup sprint. I thought he ran fine a little bit farther back early than I thought he might be. He stayed towards the inside for the stretch. He got him a little bit tight coming to the 8th pole, but he got through that, rallied pretty gamely, got up for 3rd, just missed getting 2nd in there. I thought overall a fine performance. Prior to that, he had won the Grade 2 Vosburg with a 102 buyer. He's been a good horse right from the start. I thought there was some, question about what would happen to him after he left the controversial Jason Service barn earlier this year. But I think all in all, he's run fine for his new trainer, Kelly Breen. As long as they've kept him on fast tracks, this horse has run fine in basically all of his races. Obviously, the wet track would be a big concern for him on Saturday. But if he catches fast dirt, to me, he's just the horse to beat in here. Not that Diamond Dupes is that far off of him, and he's the clear-cut second choice in here. Also ran in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last time, got a wide trip in that race, wound up finishing 6th without making a real impact, but that wasn't a poor performance at all, considering how wide he was prior to that. A Grade 2 win on dirt, a Grade 2 win on turf. He's a very versatile horse. The 7-furlong distance is no problem for him, and as a matter of fact, let's go back to his most recent 7-furlong start, because that was in this Mr. Prospector last year on December 21st at Gulfstream Park, and he was a winner that day with a big 105 buyer speed figure. Here's the replay. He ran really well in this race. He's just too good for this field. The horse that finished is 2nd to him, Lasting Legacy, is also back in this race, and Lasting Legacy is a pretty good horse in his own right, but you can see it's not really a contest. Diamond Dupes much the best in this race. He was also dropping out of the Breeders' Cup race that day. Just too good for that field. I feel like this is obviously a tougher Mr. Prospector in 2020 than the 2019 version was. But Diamond Dupes is just a good horse. He's got several fast races on his card. He makes a ton of sense in this race. Just going to the picks in this race, because I'm going to take a little bit of a shot against the two favorites, and I'm going to put the number 1 Lasting Legacy on top in this race. You saw him finishing second there in last year's Mr. Prospector behind Diamond Dupes. He was no match for Diamond Dupes, but he ran pretty well that day to be second with a triple-digit buyer of his own. And after that, things haven't really gone great for him. In his next start, which was also down here at Gulfstream, the World of Trouble, he actually ran a lot better than it looks that day, even though he lost as the favorite. Slammed at the start of that race and checked right back out of the race, wound up way too far out of it with too much to do, but actually was running on really well at the end of that race. It was just too late. He's come back recently, and I feel like his last 3 races have all been okay. He was disqualified from that race at Churchill Downs, but he ran really well that day. I think the horse that he wound up turning away and then getting disqualified for carrying that horse out a little bit, Honest Mischief, is a rock-solid racehorse. And this horse ran well that day, and he did so while getting up closer to the pace. And I think that could be a real key for Lasting Legacy, because he is a horse who has had trouble from the gate in a lot of his races, and I don't think he can really afford to break slowly from the rail in this kind of a race. So we'll see if he gets out of the gate. I think if Paco can get him out of the gate, though, this horse has enough tactical speed to pull the right trip in here. And I just feel like if he can show up and run one of his really good races, he can contend with these horses. We'll see if it all works out. He's just too big a price for me to not want to take some kind of a shot with him. It's worth also pointing out that they claimed this horse for $80,000 two back in his first start for the new connections. Did come in the Breeders' Cup last time. He was no factor in that race, but he had post 14 and he was wide every step of the way. I mean, just hung out to dry in that race. He wasn't going to win anyway, but that was just a basically impossible trip for a horse like him. I think in this kind of a race, if he can work out some kind of a trip and get out of the gate, I think he has a chance to get a piece of this race. And he's 15-1 on the line. That's more than anything else. That's more the reason why I put him on top in here. I just wanted somebody at a little bit of a better price in here. Not that I'm way against the two favorites. I went 1, 7, 9, and 4 in the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector. It's race number 10 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. The approximate post time, 4:43 Eastern Time. Good luck.